Hi, and welcome back to the Life in Bomb City podcast. I'm Aaron Favor.
And I'm Dr. Beth Rodriguez.
And we are recording live in the Panhandle PBS FM 90 studios on this beautiful June the 4th.
It's National Donut Day.
National Donut Day.
Heard it on the news today, and so I decided to support our local donut place, which is called the Donut Stop, and it's been here for a while. And if you are from Amarillo or you've come to Amarillo, then you probably have tried it. And so I went ahead. This is not going to be the norm. I don't know. Last one I got donuts today, but last time it's because my daughter. But I'm not going to be getting donuts every time, just so you know.
It's all good. Because I'm older than Methuselah, I remember when Donut Stop got into a big, epic struggle with Krispy Kreme and along with Roasters and Starbucks.
Oh, really? Interesting. Oh, yeah, that's true.
And got them.
Yeah. Well, it's just good to support local, and that's why we're here. But today, Aaron was good because we were talking, and it's summer, and we wanted to talk about something that's a lot of fun. And Aaron's like, what do you want to do? And I said, you know what? I think it would be really interesting to talk about UFOs.
That's right.
And I was like, I talk about aliens in my class, which people are like, what? Psychology? But I do bring it up because it's, I don't know, I think it's part of if you try to understand everything, it's just part of all this understanding. And when I was at OU, University of Oklahoma, I did take an astronomy class. And in the class, we actually had a formula to place on different planets in the universe that they can see by the telescope to decide if it could be possible for life to be on that planet. And so because there is an equation, and that was, it's 2020, it's like 20 years ago, there was already an equation on trying to see if there's intelligent life on other planets. There has got to be intelligent life on other planets. Like, why would they come up with an equation for that if it wasn't something that was plausible or something that was statistically likely? If they would never, that would be not even in your mind to do. Okay, so we want to talk about this whole idea of intelligent life on other planets. Okay, so Aaron, just straightforward, no playing around. Do you believe in aliens?
I do. I'm curious to know. You said intelligent life on other planets. I'm still waiting to make sure that we still have intelligent life on this planet. We'll see. We'll see about that. But I do. All kidding aside, I do believe in intelligent life on other planets. I think it would be. My thought is it's just a little bit arrogant to think that we're the only. How big the universe is, that we're the only ones. But, also I also know that how rare the conditions are for life. So, I don't know. I'm like a scientist knows them.
Yeah. Well, if you do, I always say that it's very, very egocentric to assume that we are the only living things on this planet. If the universe is infinite, which we talk about and they say and theorize, and if it is really infinite, then it is statistically impossible, there's no such word as impossible for there not to be another planet where life can exist. So I was saying that, I know there has recently been a lot of different TV shows and series and different things that have come out that have talked about UFOs.
This is a good time to kind of break in and read this little piece. The Times had an article that basically says the U.S. finds no evidence of alien technology in flying objects, but they can't rule it out either. The new report concedes that much about the observed phenomena remains difficult to explain, including their acceleration as well as the ability to change their direction and submerge. Whether or not some of these things are happening has to do, to some degree, I would think, with our inability to fully explain them. In addition to that, though, that the old idea of heliocentrism and the idea that, the Earth revolves around the sun, it seems to me has some type of a connection also with this psychological principle of, the world revolving around us. It reminds me of Genesis, that when we create things, we have a tendency to create them in our own image. And we're not even realizing we're doing it sometimes, most of the time, I would suppose, that we like to advance our own ideas and beliefs and then reinforce them with the ideas that we already have. So anyway, this piece was by Julian Barnes and Helene Cooper, and basically reads, American intelligence officials have found no evidence that the aerial phenomena witnessed by Navy pilots in recent years are actually alien spacecraft, which is what has everybody so up in arms over this. The disclosure that, the public disclosure that our pilots at the national level and sometimes at the international level, I remember Mexico F-16s ran into this years ago. I'm like, many other folks who always kind of wrote a lot of these sightings off to the possibility that this was some type of classified tech. And I think that is one of the main drivers of the fear in the establishment here and abroad, that there's some, foreign country, that is attempting to move through and permeate our airspace. So anyway, that's basically the end of the article. It kind of goes through here and talks about this budget and the fact that people need to that the United States government is trying to put this information out there, that it includes a quote from former President Obama, who says, what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it should be like a priority. I mean, if there's something flying in the sky that's going that fast and that, I mean, it's undetectable almost to certain things, we should be worried about it as a country. Like, oh my gosh, like what is in our sky? And it seems like there would be more investigation on it. But that's the thing, is like, we don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there's a lot of investigation on it, but they just don't want to talk about it because, sometimes human hysteria kicks in. We've seen it. Mm-hmm. Right?
with COVID.
Right. With COVID. I mean, it gets a little crazy sometimes. So, I mean, maybe that's what the idea is, but it's at this point, people are already talking about it. People are already interested in it. People are already shooting all sorts of stuff on their cell phones and everything because we have them. So I think that, this should be the time. Like, it's time. Like, maybe people were scared before. Maybe we did want to have the idea that we don't really want to know what's going on. But now we are in this time of information where we want to know a bunch of stuff. And I mean, if it's out there, and we want to know the truth. And so we want to know what's going on. And I think that this is the time.
Right. That's the old X-Files shirt.
Yeah.
The truth is out there.
That's right.
I will say that I thought that for years and years and years, and I mean, it's not that it's not impossible. It's just that when the United States government comes out and starts talking about these things publicly, it's not even, I still think that it's some type of way of distracting, but when the report itself, it's, I mean, I don't want to get into, I'm not a speculator. I try not to be, I try not to be, but
I do.
This is, it seems like it's odd timing, but it's always odd timing to talk about UFOs.
That's true.
That's that one. The second one, being that maybe this is some type of, technology that we just haven't discovered yet, that some other country has discovered.
Yeah.
Probably unlikely, for the simple fact that.
Well, maybe not. Like, that's the thing, is what if it is like a personal investor I mean, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money now and that can just do stuff on their own. So maybe it's not a country, but it's an actual individual. Okay. And so even if it is, like, I still want to know what it is. So, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, when we talk about unidentified flying objects, that's what UFO stands for. We immediately assume aliens. And it might not be. It may be human, but we still don't know what's flying, and we need to know what it is. I don't know. Do you remember, on the movie Up, when one of the characters, they got balloons?
I didn't see Up.
Oh my gosh, Aaron, you should watch
I know.
Okay, so they got balloons, right? To tons and tons of balloons because he wanted to move his house. Okay, so they move the house and they're flying and they have balloons. Okay, so there was a guy who was in his lawn chair, did the same thing, and he did. He flew, and people were like, "What?" Freaking out. What? I mean, it could be something. Not maybe as simple as that, but it could just be something. It could be an individual, and we should be able to know what is out there and what people are doing.
Right, and the part of the population that's surprised or is frustrated or angry that the United States government has had information and had open investigations about these things for the last 60 or 70 years. I need to calm down a little bit, I think, because there's a lot of things that we open investigations on and that we research that is not ever made public. This isn't the type of thing probably that needs to be made public and some type of disclosure. As you said, people do have a tendency to overreact.
Yeah, always. But, that's what it is. We always have the extremes, right? We have somebody who's over here on the extreme and over there. And we just, the main people are somewhere in the middle. But, we do. I mean, I think that on this idea of UFOs, like, have we been visited? Is there other places that we need to visit? Have there been planets within our own solar system that were once inhabited? All of these things that we could talk about. One of the things that I thought was really cool in that class that I took, when he said, the greatest professor, and it's so bad because I can see him, I can actually hear him, and I cannot think of his name. That's how bad it is in my brain all the time now with names. I'm like, I can see faces and voices, but names are just, okay. So I can see him. And he said, you know what, before we start looking at other planets in other galaxies and other solar systems, you know what, maybe we should look in our own, because we haven't even been able to travel completely in our own solar system. And so when we did, we looked at one of the moons of Jupiter, and it had the potential to have life. Now, what kind of life? No idea, because there was like a sheet of ice and then some type of liquid type water stuff. But we don't know what it is because we haven't been there. And that's kind of what he was like getting to, is like, we talk about just Earth being, and he said, the truth is it could be in our own solar system that we have other living things. We just don't have the ability right now to get there, to see, to really investigate it. The only way we can is through these equations and this theory and everything else. Until we can do that, we really don't know.
Right. And we also, by the way, I think that I had a similar discussion in one of my classes, a science class that, it was in the science building. And I remember very well the conversation, though, about this moon. And
yeah.
I don't remember which planet it was. It was this is really pulling back the layers of age. But I do think that those types of things that we consider to be, whatever that equation is that makes it possible for life to be life, goes back to our conversations in some of my classes that have to do with what constitutes life. Well,
right.
We get into this conversation about, I don't know, like Roe v. Wade type discussions,
right.
where you're trying to define what it is, instead of it being a mystery with a hard definition. We make it not a mystery with a very soft definition. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's what, again, we don't know. So it just always brings up the idea, like I'm a definite, like, what if thinker and all these things. And we do this with my kids all the time. And they're like, Mom, now we're freaked out. But we're thinking, how off really is Star Wars? Like, is it really that off? I mean, the truth is we do definitely have other solar systems. We definitely have other galaxies. Would it be so crazy to think that one day when we finally have communication that we could visit other galaxies? And do we know what they're going to look like? I mean, the different air pressure, the different whatever, every atmosphere that's around each of these planets and the different galaxies, what's going on, everybody's going to look different. In that it's funny, like pets could be like the main living on some other planet. Like everybody looks like dogs or everybody looks like cats, or everything looks like ants, whatever it is. And that's what I think is really kind of like, what would it be? And that's just crazy. And I think it's really interesting to think about.
Hopefully not cockroaches.
Probably.
They're pretty tough.
Yes. Okay, so we both decided, yes, we believe
Starship Troopers, by the way, little reference.
Thank you. Okay, so we both decided that, yes, there's aliens. Okay, so my question is, do you really think aliens have visited here?
I don't know. I'm an agnostic on that. I don't know. I will not. I think that I don't know.
And that's, again, okay, if we just pulled up a website in which it showed like all these different places of where they had alien sightings. And as we're looking at it, it's increasing. Like, so as we sat here, not alien, I guess UFO sightings, my bad. So as we sat here, just looking at it, it was growing. So as we were sitting here, people were seeing unidentified flying objects, right? And that's what we were seeing.
Right.
So if we have that many sightings, are that many people misled?
What is it? The phrase, 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. I guess that it could also, we were talking about the fact that because people have devices, they're more likely to pull them out. And, because the cameras have gotten so much better. And I don't know, I do believe that logic still can play a major role in the way we can rationalize the topic and then accept a certain, an incredibly, very respectful manner of mystery and say, this is what we don't know.
Right.
We don't know whether or not it is, in fact, some type of a drone, like an unmanned aerial system of some sort. And that's what's got, I think, the government so worried.
Right.
Is not so much the fact that it might be aliens, like an alien,
from another planet,
some interplanetary species, but rather that it's actually not. That we are dealing with something here in the United States or abroad that has implications for some type of a true threat to airspace.
Yeah.
And there are people that are critical of that, by the way, that our sovereign airspace is under threat. It's the same people that say that the land doesn't belong to anyone.
Yeah.
Crowd.
But that, again, and even if it is that, which we do know, right, the drones and everything, they're so much more advanced than they were before, where you would fly them and they'd go straight to the wall. Now people can fly them, and they're really good, and they're very advanced. And so maybe it could be, right? But it's still an unidentified flying object that I think we still need to identify what it is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so now, the idea. So there's this, again, I think aliens have been here. I think that there's just too many sightings and stories and things that have happened that can't be explained. There's too many weird things that are happening. Now, do I know that they're here for malicious purposes? Absolutely not. There is also the theory that aliens are still here. They're living among us.
The Men in Black.
Yeah, and that, yes.
Theory.
Exactly. Okay, so we always say that a lot of our movies, a lot of our stories, like old folk tales and everything, we always say there's a little piece of it that is usually built in reality that it comes from. Maybe the Men in Black is a little bit built in reality. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Have you have you read the book Sphere by Michael Crichton?
I think I saw the movie. Is there a movie?
It was a terrible movie.
It is a scary movie.
Dustin Hoffman, if you're listening to this, I can't believe you took that role. It was a terrible movie. Awful.
Okay,
movie.
I haven't read the book, but I did see the movie.
The book is incredible.
Okay.
It's a fantastic
Usually
book.
is.
Well, Michael Crichton, he was just an incredible thinker. And the fact that he was able to take that research and his thinking skills and then put them onto paper. I mean, he's just a really good, he was a good writer, rest in peace. But Sphere it did investigate some of these ideas and, but it did it underwater. Mm-hmm. So it did it here on Earth in a way that was kind of fitting in kind of an alien format for human beings to be underwater. And, they're investigating a spaceship that's been there for 300 years. They've calculated the growth of algae or something.
Coral.
Coral. Yeah, that it grows at a certain time or a certain pace, and then they're able to calculate it by that, rough estimation. And then, what they find out, a little spoiler here, is that when they actually get on there, they realize that it's an American spaceship that is from the future that arrived at 300 years. Now, prior to that, they actually thought that it's not possible for this to be an American spacecraft because we didn't see, there's no visible marks on the spacecraft from the wreckage, and one of the logician, is that what they call those guys? The logician, the guy that he's a mathematician. Crichton always liked to have mathematicians because they like precision and sequence. And so this mathematician was talking about this, and he said, I mean, it's an assumption to think that they crashed. He said, because what if they arrived in this spot? And so he was just trying to understand how, by not defying the laws of physics, something could still do the thing. So if we have laws that we say are immutable, and we want to provide as much reasonability within the world of science as possible, then maybe it's good to concede that there are maybe other dimensions that we're unaware of that allow some of these things to happen in space and time that, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I like to read.
This is the idea. It's like, okay, so what if we are the aliens that are visiting? And so it's like this whole space-time continuum, right? This is a very, it's a very abstract idea, because we don't, and when you try to think of time, because when we think of time, we are sequential. Like we think of, right now we talk about the past, the present, the future, and then when we watch these different movies, it's like, well, time is not necessarily a straight line, right? It could be all this, and it's like, wait a minute. Like when we try to wrap our heads around this idea, it's like it just doesn't make as much sense. So it's very possible, right, that it's just too much that we just say, I don't want to think about that. It's easier just to do this. Because I hate to say this, but our bodies are the most efficient machines in the world. We will do the easiest, the path of least resistance. And if we don't have to use our brains, we're not going to, because we have an automatic part that just goes. And if we can get something in that makes logical sense to us, then we'll just go with it. And that's just how we work, because we're just like those machines. And so the idea that time, space, everything is like linear instead of this crazy mix up that it possibly could be, it makes things easier. But when we try to think and try to explain, like the movie Sphere, like we try to bring things back and say, well, this is us coming back here from a different time. And it's like, what?
Right.
Like that's just something that a lot of people can't fathom. And it just something they just can't, it's not happening.
Okay. So inside of the spaceship in this book, Crichton writes in that there actually is something that's alien. And the alien object is actually a sphere. And it's in there. It's a perfect sphere. People cannot...
It's reflective, isn't it?
I think that it has to do with... it's reflective when... Oh, it has rules. There's rules to the sphere and being able to see their reflection. And I can't remember what they are. I need to go back and read it again. This is a good reason to go back and read it. Mm-hmm. This was my favorite book when I was a kid. So it was, I think I read it in the 7th grade, and then I read it again and again and again. And he has a team of like 4 or 5 people that go down there. The principal investigator, though, I believe is a psychologist.
Yeah.
His name is Norm.
Yeah, and it was like, why would he be the one to go there?
He's the one who wrote the report. He wrote a government report.
He talked about it. That's why.
Yeah, and so, for instance, and I can't imagine not thinking about this in the context of what it is that we're discussing, that Crichton says that what actually is alien, the thing that is truly the mystery here, which is less this is what's funny, it's less the American technology from the future arriving underneath the ocean 300 years ago.
True.
Right? As hard as that is to imagine and believe, he goes a step further and he says, this could be, here's the alien, here's what's alien here. And when people actually get to go inside the sphere, there's no door, there's no anything. They have to have the right mindset to even be able to get in. Once they get in, they're actually talking, they have this conversation. Nobody knows who they're having a conversation with. And this is a big part of the book. I mean, I think that it takes probably half the book to understand that they're not talking to an alien species or anything like that. They're talking to themselves. They're talking to a different part of their own psychology or their own mind.
Yeah.
And so what they end up getting into, this alien tech, it allows them to have the ability to manifest the ideas that they have in their head. So if you're somebody that's afraid of squid, you're going to see
a giant squid.
A giant squid everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And if you're afraid of jellyfish, that's what you're going to see. Anyway, what we find out is that human beings are nowhere close to being ready to understand or to control or to have the discipline to think. And this gets back to Winston Churchill for me. He says that empires of the future are empires of the mind. Mm-hmm. And alien tech seems to be, or the idea in our imagination of what we envision alien tech being, seems to always have a great deal to do with the mind, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've yet to see a picture that people say that they've seen an alien, and they were probing or doing whatever it is. I don't know why they probe. They always probe. Anyway,
They do.
But the probes that these things are always like in some type of a team, and they've got really big brains.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is Mars Attacks, the
exactly.
comedy, from 90s.
That they blow their heads up when they hear music.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, we see all this, like, futuristic stuff anyways. It is using your mind to fly, to use weapons, to drive cars. I mean, most of it is now the mind. And that's really what maybe, like, if you think about it in these terms, we are the aliens. Parts of our brains that we have so much more capability of doing things. If we can unlock it, we're the ones that are going to now be able to, transcend the galaxy, go to the next place, do whatever. And it's all because we have now unlocked this potential that we have in our own brains.
Mm-hmm. Mysteries of the universe,
Yeah.
Mysteries of God. These are all, I mean, very valid points, and you're I think spot on there. The thing is, we have fighter pilots who we always consider to be like the instruments of precision. And I'm sure that there are, they would laugh to some degree about that, and then also be serious to some degree about, well, yes, we are.
Right.
But also, funny about it. Lieutenant Ryan Graves, according to this same document, this article that I'm reading, an FA-18 Super Hornet pilot who was with the Navy for 10 years, told the New York Times in an interview, these things would be out there all day. With the speeds he and other pilots observed, he said 12 hours in the air is 11 hours longer than we'd expect. And then he says that, the objects had no visible engine or infrared exhaust plumes, but they could reach 30,000 feet in hypersonic speeds.
And that's the thing. It's like, what is that? Another thing that, of course I do. I told you I think there's aliens. I do. It just makes sense. I think that they've been here. I think that we are getting information. I think the government is part of it. Not like it's like a conspiracy, like, oh, government. But I think that, it's smart for them too, because it is a new technology. It's something that's going to advance us. But 100%. Then I've also seen some, stuff on Discovery Channel. I don't know if we were talking about a little bit earlier. It's called, there's 2 different ranches in Utah. One of them is Skinwalker Ranch. It's probably the most famous of all the ranches that all this crazy stuff happens. Like there's, they actually there's documentaries on all this. There's also a Skinwalker Ranch where these people are going in and they have all these investigations. Like they have multiple people, like people who do, like a geologist. They have people who know earth, like dirt, and all these things. And they've done tried to do ground penetrating images of the tunnels and different things that are underneath. And they've all experienced crazy things, to the point where one of them, like one of the documentaries, I can't remember which one it was because obviously I watch them a lot. They did say they think there's a possible portal and that they see things coming out of it. Like this could be a place on this ranch that is a hub for this extraterrestrial type of phenomena that's going on. Right. And it goes back to the Native Americans. That's why they call it Skinwalker Ranch, because the Native Americans, a skinwalker is the idea that there's a person who can change form, and they can also bring like bad stuff around, and they can change to animals, birds. They can fly, they can change to human, they can change like to a different human. They have the ability to change, and that's why they call them a skinwalker. They feel like it's evil, and because they don't understand it. And I think that this is why, and they will identify that Native Americans in that land will say, yes, this land is cursed pretty much because of the skinwalker. And so they call it Skinwalker, and there's a lot of stuff that happens that they can't explain. And they're trying to be very scientific about it so that it's not just like, oh, I saw a red flashy. No, it's like they're getting things on camera. They're, having cameras all the time. They're trying to investigate the ground, do, all sorts of research to figure out what it is. And it's just, it's unbelievable. Like there's stuff that happens that you can't explain it. Mm-hmm. So it's unexplained. And so like in those situations, like what's going on there?
Right. Yeah. Those types of places, I can't even begin to really even talk about them with any, I have to be quiet in that because I don't have anything to say about it. It's like, it kind of defies we have science fiction, that has to do with shapeshifters and, skinwalker-esque things that by your definition, I've never heard that before.
Oh, really?
Yes, I haven't.
You should look some stuff up. It's kind of...
I'll have to check into it for real. There was a documentary, I believe, that we talked about on Amazon. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. Right now, that's where you can find it. It's called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And it's a doctor. Well, he is a doctor, right? He was an ER doctor.
Yes.
That we had to figure this out. What kind of doctor is he?
Yeah.
Is he? Because he's a self-prescribed ufologist.
Yes,
and so I thought, surely you can have a PhD in ufology.
You could.
I guess you could.
But
but it would be kind of strange thing to have your doctorate in, because nobody appointed anybody an expert. And who are the teachers? But anyway, forget about it. It's a discipline that is probably going to be a future emergent discipline where people can, understand more and more as they go, not unlike medicine.
Right.
Not unlike medicine, and being able to have and go about things like cancer research or something like that. Yeah. I think of evil when I think of cancer. And I recognize that there's a lot of unknown there. Tons. And there's a lot of things that are scary about it. But there's also this other dimension to it, which is it seems evil.
Yeah.
Why is that? Does it seem evil? Is it because it is unknown? Is it because that that I'm trying to rationalize in my brain why it should be the other, why it should be scary? I believe Crichton, whenever he go back to Michael Crichton, right? When he died, there were stories about him. He was like 6'6".
Oh, really?
He was a tall guy. And he was a presence everywhere he went. He wrote screenplays all the time, and he, the very famous. He was just as famous for writing really interesting television series and movies as he was writing incredible books. Mm-hmm. So, Westworld is another example of this. He loves to play and toy with the idea that people are not in control.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, quit trying to control everything. Quit it. Quit it. The more you try to control
stuff.
The more you try to control, this is a motif in all of his books. The more you try to control it, the more you are going to lose control of everything.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be the thing that you weren't thinking about that's going to get you.
Yeah.
So you can't think of everything. And he's not saying don't try. He's just saying, look at nature.
Yeah, enjoy. Stop for a minute and don't try to control everything. Just kind of enjoy it. Okay, I have to give a shout out to the other thing on the Discovery, the other one that's the other ranch, which is the Blind Frog Ranch.
What is Blind Frog?
Okay, I'll tell you why they call it Blind Frog. Okay, so they started digging into this cavern type area, and when they did, all these frogs came out, but they were blind because they had been underground for so long. But what doesn't make any sense is how did they get there in the first place? But they were underground, so they couldn't see, so they got them out. So they now call it the Blind Frog Ranch. And then they've done all this stuff as well. They've been trying to dig and try to find all this information that's going on there, because they actually have this place. They call it the mystery place, right? Where they can take sand. They take sand and rock, okay, and they heat it up, and they make a new material. Okay, it's not glass, and now it sounds like, right, yeah, sand makes glass. I don't even know if it's sand. I think it's just rocks. And they just add sun, heat, and it makes a new object. And they have a guy there that's looking, and he's like, this doesn't make any sense. He's like, this is a whole new thing. He's like, I don't know where it came from. He tried to break it down and try to see it was made from, and it's like transformed into something else in this area. Okay, and it's really cool. Well, he did come in and talk to, so my older brother knows him. So now my brother, and I think both my brothers and my husband, they all have Blind Frog Ranch hats. And then the guy, he also came in and talked to my husband at Ditch Witch, Undercon, because they have underground digging. Now, we were watching one of the things, and my husband, Philip, was like, he's like, and they were like, oh, we're going and we're getting it. And he was like, there's no way. That ground is way too hard. They don't have the right bit on. And so I told him, I said, maybe they should contact you, and Ditch Witch should be out there instead of the machine that they have, which I won't mention the name.
Aha.
Yes. But anyways, this is another one of those areas. Like, there's something going on. And then you had mentioned that the government owns a lot of land in Utah. And it could be the same kind of the same reason is that they know something's going on there. Right? And they don't know what it is. And they're not sure if it's safe because a lot of times the unknown, we're scared. So they're not sure if it's safe. They are there maybe trying to figure out what's happening so then we can keep people safe. That's me. I'm like trying to assume the reason that we don't know is because they're trying to keep us safe.
Of course. Yeah, right. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to keep things classified or keep them from the public eye. But they're not always because, they're trying to keep people safe.
Yeah. I'm assuming
sometimes legitimately they just don't want anybody else to know. And I get that. I do. It shows a certain level of trust in authority and that other people, not everybody has.
Right.
So
did you talk about the December 27th thing that Donald Trump did? A little bit?
I read about 3 or 4 paragraphs, and then I pontificated for a couple of seconds. And, that's when the listeners turned the whole thing off. I was just trying to get through. I don't know. We talked a little bit about, so you're referencing this budget.
Yes. Okay, so Trump... And it was December 27th, and he put through the COVID-19. It was like a $2.9 trillion something. And in it, he actually had a part that said that all these agencies, the FBI, the Pentagon, the CIA, all of them need to release these documents on UFOs that they have been gathering since 1940 to 1990. They need to release it to the public. And they had 180 days to do it. Okay, so by, I can't remember what it was, I guess it was the beginning of this month, or maybe it was last month, they actually had released 2,700 documents identifying different cases of unidentified flying objects. They call it something else, like an aerial, it's a lot fancier than UFO.
Phenomena, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It sounds much more scientific.
It does. And they... What's really interesting is that, so this research has been going on, and Donald Trump was the one who was like, hey, let's let them know what's going on because we want to start space travel again. Okay. I don't know about you, but this was the generation of astronauts. I wanted to be an astronaut more than anything.
Oh yeah. 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 Me too. But then I found out you had to be good at math.
I was down. I was down to be an astronaut. But then when I finally got to around the age that I could even think about doing it, it was gone. The program was just like, we're not doing astronaut. No one's going to space. I wanted to go to space so bad. Like, I'm trying to talk my kids into it. Mm-hmm. But of course, they've seen all the movies that every time you're in space, something goes wrong because nobody does a movie about, this was an easy flight to space and then I come home because that's not not exciting. It's not dramatic. And so every time I say, oh my gosh, you guys should be astronauts, they're like, Mom, you're so mean. Like, you want us to die in space. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I just think it is an unbelievable idea that you get to fly out of our own atmosphere and look back and be like, wow. Like, we've seen the pictures, and the pictures are, like, mind-blowing. But if you could actually experience it, can you imagine?
Right.
And I was so excited when now I'm way too old and broken. I can't do anything. I can't go be an astronaut. But I think that the ability for us to continue to investigate places that we don't know. I think that's like the scientist in me that loves that we can still try to figure out the unknown.
Yeah. That's a tough one. And I think that I was visiting with my dad a couple of weeks ago. He said something about, whenever he was growing up, all the science fiction movies had rockets that would come back down and land the way that they took off. And it looked so weird, And of course, that's exactly what we're doing now with rockets. And so much of that has to do with private enterprise. You were mentioning earlier, maybe some baron somewhere is, creating or like has a team of scientists that he's whipping.
Yeah.
And,
of course they have to be
alien tech or, right. I mean, I don't know. I just know that the technology that we are developing right now, I'm really proud of our country, and I'm proud that we have so many different projects that are pushing back, because so many folks seem to, or many people, and this is a straw man that I'm creating here.
Right.
Many people, some folks, many folks.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm creating a straw man because we have conversations with people that say that this is a waste of money, that we could be spending this money better at home, on the poor, on healthcare, on people who do not earn, a living wage or whatever the case may be. This is a great way to spend money. And, well, what does that even mean? Why do I say it's a great? We have so many new things that get invented when it becomes 100% necessary for us to do it in order to continue to move forward. And we invent all kinds of new things, and we continue to not impress ourselves, but have to make things on the fly. And there's nothing more human than creating things as you go to survive.
Right.
I think about Native American Indians and people that lived on these plains. I don't know how anybody survived out here.
Yeah, no kidding.
You had to be tough as nails. And I think of my ancestors, they were incredibly resourceful. And yet not as resourceful. They still are trying to churn butter. They were making clothes. They were still doing certain things that had to do with civilization. They were doing it in an albeit very primitive way. But the way that they went about doing it was still a part and parcel of that older historical pioneer mindset. But people that lived on this land before that they had use for everything.
Yep. Exactly. And I just think that, it's not, I don't think that we can't stop. That's the thing, is like once we stop, we're not going to continue to grow. And if we're not growing, we're not proceeding, we're not developing, right? And that is the idea, is that we constantly want to develop. We want to, do something, make ourselves better. And it's, a lot of times we talk about, if we just keep making things easier, we just get lazier and lazier. But that's not the point. I'm not saying make everything easier. I'm just saying we just have to keep on working, keep on developing. It was funny because we were talking today to a colleague as we were walking through, and I was like, you know what? Soon we're going to have flying cars. And he, of course, he's very AC mindset. And he said, so we need to start, get a program in for flying cars. He's like, we're still working on the one for driverless trucks, and I was like, well, you better hurry because it's going to be happening. I mean, I have this, everything is advancing so quickly that it's going to happen. I remember going to Epcot Center in Florida. I guess I was probably like 7 years old, maybe younger, 5 to 7. And we went, and you go through the time thing where it shows okay, this is what is going on right now. And in 2020, it was like the future. It was like a long time from now. We are going to be living in floating houses. We are going to be driving flying cars. And, we get here and it's like, it's not happening. But, the sad thing is, not sad, but the crazy thing is I think it's right around the corner. We're going to be doing these things, which if we were to look back, it's very alien, very different than what we were before. So, it's very possible that if for some reason time travel does come, if we had somebody who they would time travel thinking they're in a new galaxy or a new place with all these aliens, and it could just be us in the future. Right. And I think we do this, it could be all the time. But it's true, on and on. We look at different things and how things function. And it's it's very possible that this could be what it is, because we don't know. And until we do know, we're going to continue to do these what if and this, oh, what if this is it and this is going to happen. But if I just think, again, if the government does know, I'd want to know. I just want to know what it is because I'm that person. I just want to know.
Yeah, there's going to continue to be a level of mystery to all of this stuff. I don't believe for a second that that we would ever put anything into a report that maybe. I mean, I guess that would be an idea. I don't know if it would be a good idea or a where that would fall in the gradient.
Right.
But it's going to be an interesting thing to watch happen and develop, especially as we go to Mars.
Yep.
I
still think that's so cool. We're on another planet.
Right. I mean, it was cool when we were on the moon.
You know that there's a theory we never landed on the moon.
Yeah.
It was all done in a movie studio.
I think I had a family member that believed that.
And the Earth is flat. You've heard this,
right? Right.
And
I mean, what am I supposed to say? I can't even. I mean, it goes back to the whole idea of heliocentrism, and us thinking that, and people that denied it at the time that it was a thing. That it was something that was new. It was a threat. It was threatening to them. I mean, it threatened their whole worldview, and it threatened their religious perspectives, and it threatened
what they already had set in place.
I guess maybe the stasis. No. Yeah. For
your automatic and
it threatened what they were doing, and the world they were building. I think that while you were digging, I mentioned that that we have a tendency to do exactly what we say happened in Genesis, which is to create things in our own image. And so I think that it's a logical construction if we follow that model of thinking, which is very classical American.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. A classical human way of thinking is to say that, when people do create things, we tend to create them with our own mind in what we're comfortable with and what we're doing. So anytime you look at a leader is a good example of this. A founder of a company, Elon Musk. Let's take Elon Musk to be safe here. Elon Musk sees himself as a pioneer. Everybody else sees him as a pioneer, which only feeds that, right? So, I mean, now he's, and if you've got untold amounts of money, then I don't know. It's easy. This can be dangerous by the same token, because very easily you can start seeing things that aren't totally reality. Right? So,
because it's the confirmation bias.
Yes.
You will find the information that supports your way of thinking.
But what happens whenever there's a representative constituency in a very specific area, but people from outside of it, and we hear this all the time in politics, and I'm not trying to, obviously make politics out of stuff. Just, if you start giving me enough ingredients, I'll find a way to talk about the world and politics, polis, and anyway, so, however, like if people from outside the area are trying to project something that they want to happen in this area rather than what is actually the reality, you can end up creating all kinds of things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that aren't representative of
what's really happening.
Yeah, and it's a form of it's a form of the same thing that we demonize so much in popular literature and popular culture about, the West took the land from the Native American Indians, and the West, is so destructive because they go out and they explore things. How dare they?
Yeah.
And they.
But then we wouldn't have what we have.
Right.
Again, and that's the thing, same thing with this whole idea of space exploration. It's like if we don't go, we won't know. We don't have any more than we already have. If you don't do anything, you don't get anything. Right?
Right.
I mean, if you sit around and do nothing, you get nothing. But if you go and do something, then there's going to be, it's a possibility. You might still have nothing, but at least you did something. And I think I don't think that's very, I don't know. Is it a Texas thing? I don't know. Well, is it just a certain personality type thing? I don't know what it is, but it is something like you have the choice to do something or do nothing. And
it might be a Texas thing.
It might be. I don't know.
For people here I go again, making aliens. Okay.
You're making aliens people? I think we are.
No.
Okay, so just I know we're getting on our hour, and I think it's been a lot of fun because it's something that we weren't really, like we talk about it, but not in depth like we do a lot of other things. But it's just, this whole idea that, okay, so the government obviously has information on unidentified flying objects, UFOs. And each president is given this information because it's through the government and now they're the leader of the country. Do you think that different presidents address it differently? Because this is more in the political realm for you. But do you think that each of the presidents do, decipher and, give information differently depending on who they are and their political parties?
There's a lot there that we don't know. I don't know so much of that, the individual personalities and the way that what they were told and how they were told it. But to just kind of have fun. And we do know that, for example, Bill Clinton was very interested in, or is very interested in, he's not gone, the idea of there being some type of contact. He even starred in, or was not starred in, but was he had a short little part in Contact.
Oh, really?
The movie
Okay.
Contact with Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big deal when it happened. They were like, is this a good precedent for the president to be setting, for him to be, does this not just crave his ego or to, just continue to, anyway, there's a lot of things like that. He's the last president that I've heard mention it in any way that was, we know Eisenhower thinks that he saw a UFO.
Yep.
I don't know. There's so much that I don't know about that. We know,
That's the point. Is like it is so unknown, and I would. I'm just, as a scientist in me, I would love, for the people who've done the research, I'd love to hear it. And I do, I watch the different things because I think it's very interesting because it is something I don't know, and I like to know more about stuff I don't know.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're getting here in our hour again.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Fast.
It went really fast, and it was fun. I mean, it was just a new little topic. If anybody else, have any alien stories, we'd love to hear it. And again, we will, hope everybody's doing great, and always thank you guys for listening. And I guess, have a great day.
Yeah, everybody have a good day. We'll see you next week.
Alrighty.
All right.
Bye.